Hey guys, so welcome back to part 14 of this bubble tutorial series. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to filter a list. So we have a list of data, which is our home and our list of homes. And we want to filter that data, based on how many bedrooms a home may have, or filter all of the homes based on a certain price. And we're going to do that on the listings page. So let's jump right in. So we can go over here. Let's switch over to the listings page. Now I went ahead and added a few extra homes just to give us some extra data. And this is the listings page we built early on in the series, in this tutorial series. So let's go ahead and preview. So right now we're only showing 3. We quickly set this layout up. So let's make some adjustments. So first things first, our home cards doesn't even have any images as thumbnails, so let's go ahead and add those. You could just add a shape, and we're going to set the background image of the shape as the image that represents this home sale. So style, actually background, style, image, and then we want to use a dynamic image, and that's this parent group's home. Click photos, which is a list of photos for that home. So we only want to choose one photo, so we'll choose the first photo, and that should work. Preview. Not only that, we want to round these corners up just to match the style. So let's click on that thumbnail. And we want to define each border independently. Top left, 5 pixel radius. Top right, 5 pixel radius. And that should do that. Also, like I said, I took the liberty of adding more homes. So right now we're only seeing 3, but I want to show the full list of homes. So what we need to do is click on a repeatable group. And instead of a fixed number of cells, we want to show the full list. Let's go ahead and click preview. And there you see it. We see the full list. We have 7 homes. And we just need to update the layout style. That's how much data we want to pull from the database, which is the full list. And lastly, let's just add a little bit of alignment next to in this search bar here. Let's just center that up. So what we want to do is go ahead and group all of this. And so highlight, right click, group elements in a group. And we want to click on a group and make sure we set it to being a fixed width element. And we want to set the width to 1080 since that's the same width of our list of home listings here. Actually, it's 1060. We're gonna go ahead and stretch that a little bit and make it 1080 since that's what we use on the rest of the site. Let's add a little bit of extra spacing. Stretch this a little bit. Don't cut anything off. Add a little spacing up top. There we go. Now we say it's 1080. That's the full width of this view. All right. So this group up top is 1080 pixels. Let's right click. Let's center horizontally. And make sure these buttons in as well as the search bar all the same height. So the search box is 42 pixels high. So let's make these buttons 42 pixels high. 2, 2, We're just doing a little bit of alignment before we jump into filtering. All right, let's go ahead and preview. Hopefully that lines up right. There we go. So lined up a little bit better when we last had it. But nonetheless, let's go and jump ahead into filtering. So if we want to filter data, we want to do that when we click on one of these buttons. So that lets you know that we need to set some type of workflow. We need to build some type of workflow. So when we click on this button, so right now, let's say we want to call it filter button price. So when we click on the filter button price, let's show some type of meter that we can set. So what we want to do is define an event on a workflow. So elements. So when an element is clicked, and a particular element is this filter button price, we need to define an action as well. So when we define an action, what we want to do, let's design a layout that we can enter some input in. So let's show up a pop-up. So a pop-up is similar to a modal for anybody who's familiar with web design. And we can just display a pop-up here in the middle of the screen. And in this pop-up, we can, so on the pop-up, price filter, and let's go ahead and define some input fields. So, well, first, let's add a title here. Price filter. Find a body style as a H2 dark. And we want two filter types. So we want a minimum and we want a maximum. And we want two input fields. Or we can enter that value. Let's set that to input minimum price. Minimum is normally 0. And we want to duplicate that here with the max price. And let's get rid of that. Maximum is not going to be 0. And let's add let's go ahead and add our button. So let's go ahead and add a submit button. On apply button. So when it's set, it'll filter. So click apply. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. create a cancel button just in case we don't want it. We don't want to. Let's change the color of this style. Oops. Click on this button. Go style. Color color black. Change the background color gray. There we go. Let's go ahead and leave that there. So get rid of the pop-up. So when the price button is clicked, we want to display the pop-up. So when the price button is clicked, let's go to elements, and we want to show the pop-up. So let's click preview. So when we click price, the pop-up shows. Let's go back and add the cancel button. Let's add the workflow to the cancel button. So we want to go back here, element, when the element is clicked. So make sure that's our cancel button. And we want to add an element action to hide. And the element we want to hide is the pop-up. There we go. Let's go ahead and preview. So when we click price, filter pops up. We hit cancel, it goes away. Cool. So now that we have the form ready, now what we want to do is whenever we enter a value here, a price as a minimum and price as the maximum, and we click apply, we want to refill to this list. So what we also need to do is go back to the editor. Let's go back to our design view. Click cancel. Clicking the space. So when we hit the apply button, so we need to go to our workflow. So let's add an event. So elements, when an element is clicked, it's the apply button that we want to click, price apply button. So when that happens, what we want to do is reset our list of items, our list of homes. So what we want to do is go to element actions, and we want to go to display list, our home listings columns. And we want to do, click our data source. We want to do a search for homes, and we want to add a new constraint. So these are what constraints are. So our constraint is we want to find all the homes where for that particular home price, it's greater than or equal to the minimum value of that input. So grab the input min price value, and we need to set, right now you only see, you see all these different values. We should specify the input type as a number. Right now it's giving us options for uppercase, lowercase, so it can be text as well. We don't want text. So let's go back to our design view. Let's open up the pop-up filter again. So Right now, we want the content format to be a number or an integer. Same thing as number, but it can be negative as well. Let's go ahead and close that. Let's change this content format to integer. Cool. Go ahead and get rid of that. Let's go back to workflow. All right. So we need to go back to the apply button. Let's click. Display the homes. Let's search for homes. And there we go. So now you see a green. It can just take input minimum price as is. So let's add another constraint. Let's also, for this home price, it needs to be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to the max. I'm sorry. The input max price. And we want to ignore the empty constraints. Sometimes if we don't set either or, we just want to go ahead and ignore that. So let's go ahead and ignore. Let's close. And we want to preview. All right, so let's try it out. So let's do homes between the price of, let's say we got $600,000 and $1 million. So right now we should only see 3 homes. So 1, 2, 3, all of these matches that requirement. So let's go ahead and test out if it works. So the minimum price of a home is 600,000 and the maximum price is $1 million. Cool. And let's go ahead and apply. Cool. And you can see it filter in the background, but this pop-up didn't go away. So we need to add another workflow item. So these are the 3 homes between 600,000 and $1 million. So that's very simple. So let's go back, and update that pop-up. So when the apply button is clicked, not only we want to do that, we want to add another action where we hide the pop-up. So let's go to element actions, click hide. The element we want to hide is the pop-up filter. Go back to preview. Let's click on price, 600,000 to $1 million. Apply, and it's filtered. And one last thing I want to do is we can format these inputs. So we can format that into currency. So let's go ahead and do that. So we want to open back up the pop-up filter. The content is formatted as an integer. Let's see if we can. Guess we can set it as currency. So let's go ahead and preview. $600,000 and $1 million. Let's apply. And there you have it. So that was easy. So we can actually, the user can actually see the currency formatted rather than just a hard number, because sometimes you lose track of how many decimal places, how many zeros you add. Nonetheless, that's all there is to filtering. This is filtering on price. you can go ahead and do the same thing for beds, baths, and square feet. So that's all there is to it. So stay tuned for the next video where we're going to talk about search and how to filter based on our search results. So subscribe to the channel if you're liking this content, and stay tuned for the next video.